Okay. I'm going to call to order the regularly scheduled monthly Town of Nantucket Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. Do you want to start over? Sure. Okay. I'm going to call to order the regular monthly Town of Nantucket Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. Today is Thursday, May 8th. It is 1:02 p.m. Could I please have a motion to approve the agenda as drafted and as amended? So moved by Lisa.
Second.
And seconded by Elisa. Okay, I'll do we have anyone that needs to be on, that's on Zoom?
Yes, we have Mark Poor on Zoom.
Okay. So we will do roll call vote then. Lisa?
Aye.
Elisa?
Aye.
Is John Brusher attending? Oh, here he is, John Brusher. Jim?
Aye.
Myself? Aye. And that's how many? 1, 2, is that 5?
Hey, Jen.
And John? Approve the agenda?
Aye.
Okay.
And Bob.
Yeah, so we have a new member sitting with us today. And I meant to ask you before the meeting, how do you want to be called? Bob, Robert, Bobby?
Nantucket, I go by Bobby.
Okay. Bobby to the board. Okay. So we have a new member, Bobby Constable is joining us. He was on Zoom for a prior meeting, but this is his first in-person meeting. So a warm welcome, and we look forward to working with you. And thank you for volunteering and giving of your time, because it's a commitment, and appreciate you stepping up.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So our first thing on the agenda are public comment. So the public comment section, again, is for items not reasonably anticipated to be discussed on the agenda. Is there anyone in the physical audience who wishes to speak at public comment? No, seeing none. Is there anyone online, Nikki, who's got a hand up for public comment?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Somebody just, Patty Deuster.
Will you just confirm that it's something that's not on the agenda?
Patty? Oh, sure. Patty? You're mute.
Yes, it's Patty Doyster.
Will you just confirm that it's something that's not on the agenda? Patty?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm speaking for something that's on the agenda.
Patty?
There seems to be an audio
mute.
problem.
Are you watching YouTube currently? Are you on YouTube as well?
Oh, I might be.
If you are, you have to close it or it's gonna have
Yes.
that playback.
Thank you. No, I'm speaking for something that's on the agenda.
No, you'll need to save those comments for when that matter comes up. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mute her.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so our next item of business is the approval of the minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes, February 3rd, 2025 and February 11th, 2025. I did not have see any typos or corrections. For those, I just had a question on the February 3rd minutes. It goes directly to a motion to adjourn. There was no reference made to the motion to continue. I'm assuming it was continued to the February 11th meeting, but we must have made a motion to continue to a date and time certain, so we should just go back and add that, whatever it was.
Yep,
Does that make
I'll
sense?
I'll double check that with Rolisha as well.
Okay, so should we wait to approve those, or can we approve them with the motion to continue added?
Yeah, I think you could do it either way.
Okay. Does anyone else have any, pardon me, questions or comments on the minutes from the 3rd or the 11th?
I did not.
No. Okay, so if someone if one of the members would make a motion to approve the minutes as drafted with the addition of that, the missing language about the motion to continue, that would be timely.
I'll make that motion. I'll second that.
Okay.
For both.
Okay, so Lisa has made the motion and Lisa has seconded for both to approve the February 3rd, 2025 and February 11th, 2025 minutes as drafted with the addition of the motion to continue language in the February 3rd, 2025 minutes. Roll call vote again. Lisa?
Aye.
Elisa?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Okay. Moving on to old business. The first matter has requested to withdraw without prejudice. This is 2025-0015, 46 West Maya Comet LLC, 46 West Maya Comet Road. Attorney Arthur Reed, did you want to say anything, Attorney Reed?
Simply that we, just to give you a little bit of background on this, we were before you at the last meeting in connection with this move back on property out in the Moorlands Management District as a result of coastal erosion. And since that meeting, we have proceeded a little bit further, and it appears that it's going to take quite some time to work out the issues with MISA, Massachusetts Endangered Species Act, with the Natural Heritage Program, because of certain plant species that are suspected to possibly be on the site, and the life cycle of those plants is such that we're going to need to have an environmental study done late summer, early fall, and then after that, we'll still have to go back and forth with natural heritage, as a result of which the plan could change considerably. And rather than just keep continuing it, we thought it would be more appropriate to simply withdraw and resubmit with the plan, which at that point will have been vetted as to the environmental issues by the natural heritage people.
We
Which
did.
should facilitate your review as well.
We definitely appreciate that. Is there an opportunity for us, I don't know if this is even possible, to waive the fee for them to reapply?
Absolutely.
Okay, I think we could, if someone
Sure, I'll make
unless
that
anyone
motion.
has an objection, I think we should waive the fee since they're giving, what?
And I just wanted to say as well, I really appreciate that maneuver as staff.
Yeah.
I thank you.
Yeah,
And just out of curiosity, not that there were, I don't believe there were any neighbors there, but will people get re-notified even if it's not a new,
Oh, yeah.
yeah?
Yes, it's just simply waiving the application fee.
Okay, I'll make that
If we kept
motion.
rolling it over, there wouldn't necessarily be any further notice. So
That's
I think
right.
this is fair to
no,
everybody.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
a much
So,
more, it's a much more neighborly approach, and it's very much appreciated by staff and the board, so thank you.
Great.
Can I ask a
Sure.
question? Arthur, what triggered this, the location
Well,
of the property?
it's mapped habitat, and any project that you do in mapped habitat as being potentially the habitat for species protected under MISA has to go before natural heritage for review. We had started that process, and then when the people we had working on it, Brian Madden notably, who does a great deal of this work with natural heritage on Conservation Commission cases, the response that he got referred to these plants. And once again, the plants were at the life cycle is such that we can't do the work right now. We'd already filed with natural heritage, but now we realize that it's going to be a much longer process than we had thought, and that it could make a significant, or not make
You're
a
right, yeah.
significant
No, thank you.
change
I'm
to
just
the plan.
curious if it's a particular area where we've
Well, it's
reviewed some.
all of that smooth hummock. There's a lot of different areas that are protected under this, and you
Okay,
do
that's
have to
good to
get
know.
approval from them. Often, the site's already disturbed, so it's a non-issue. It's grass, they don't really care, but on this one, I think they had to create a new area to put the structure, probably.
Okay. Because we've had other situations, and I didn't know if that was approved, so we didn't hear that.
Yeah,
or if it
I
was-
think if it's like replacing the ground cover of the same house or in a disturbed area, it's almost a rubber stamp.
Yeah, okay.
And most of the MMD applications do come with the MISA approval
Oh,
as
they
well.
do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you for sprinkler ban.
Okay, so Lisa, were you
I'm
making that motion?
to waive the fee as well.
Okay, so we're going to, could I have a second on the motion to withdraw?
Second.
Without prejudice and waive the fee if they choose to come back?
Second.
Okay, so Lisa has made the motion, John has seconded. I don't have a list of who sat on that, or did we have? And no one was
For the
recused, right?
withdrawal, you could
Yeah,
just,
nobody was-
you could
okay.
do any 5
Okay.
people.
So we will do the regular members by roll call. So Lisa,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Elisa,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and myself, aye. So that is withdrawn without prejudice. Okay.
Madam Chair, you have later on the agenda an identical matter.
Okay.
Which, it might be convenient to simply take that up now. That's 10 Smooth Hummocks, on which we had filed the application. The only difference is that this one hasn't had a first hearing yet.
Okay.
But once again, we've determined that this site, which is also in the Woodlands Management District, Natural Heritage has informed us that the same 3 plants, in fact, are suspected as being out there. And so we'll be doing the same survey between now and, basically in the fall, when this needs to be done. And rather than kicking it over once again, we're asking to withdraw without prejudice, and we'll resubmit when we have the response from Natural Heritage and make any appropriate adjustments to the plan.
Okay. So I would request, that's under new business, that's 2025-17 Smooth Hummocks LLC, 10 Smooth Hummocks Road. Is also, we're looking for a motion then for withdrawal without prejudice, and I would suggest again that we waive the fee for them to reapply. Lisa, you were recused on this one, so if I could get a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Second.
okay. So Jim, I'm going to ask you to vote on this one. So Elisa,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Okay, so that is withdrawn without prejudice with the fee waived for reapplication. Do we want to just do the other 2 continuances now?
I was thinking it might just make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have 2 other, well, we'll start with 2025-0014, Arthur, yeah, one of them is yours. George and Tiffany Cloutier, 40 Low Beach Road. This one has requested to continue to June 12th. I don't believe it's been opened yet, so,
Do you want to do both of them? That
Sure.
one in 2025?
and, sure, 2025-18 Brian T. Ryder, 8 Sandwich Road, also to continue to June 12th, 2025. Could I have a motion to?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, so Lisa has made the motion, Elisa has seconded. I'll do roll call vote again to continue both applications to June 12th, 2025. Lisa?
Aye.
Elisa?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Okay, so those we'll hear at our June meeting. Okay. Moving right along. So now we are going to revisit application 2025-0011, Whitney H. Matthews, 43 Union Street, and Attorney Reed is presenting for the applicant.
Thank you. Again, for the record, Attorney Arthur Reed. As you know, this matter has been continued on previous occasions, and we're back before you now at this meeting. And I think that we should get back to the basics as to what this application is all about. This is simply an application for the alteration of a pre-existing non-conforming structure, pre-existing as to side yard setback, to enable the construction of an upward extension with dormers within the setback area without any change to the foundation, without any excavation being required, and with no other zoning issues being raised by any other aspect of the project. All we're asking for is a special permit to operate within the existing footprint and construct this upward addition. concerns had been raised about the placement of materials on the site insofar as they might affect a tree on the adjacent property. And we've presented a brief explanation as to how the work will be done. We plan to do the work entirely by bringing materials to the site on a daily basis, not storing materials outside. The work will largely be done from inside the house, and the materials will largely be stored inside, and those that can't be stored inside the house would be brought in, as I said, on a daily basis. And there would be no dumpster on the site, and any materials that would be outdoors would be removed on a daily basis and would be entirely on this lot, not on the adjacent lot in related ownership. This does not have anything to do with the tree on the adjacent lot. We're not proposing to do anything to the tree. We're not proposing under this application to do anything to the garage on the adjacent lot. We're not proposing to construct a driveway. If an issue of a driveway came up, it would be under the jurisdiction of the HDC and the planning board and the DPW, not this board. And we're not applying for that at this time, in any event. On the basis of that, I think that we have a very powerful case to be made that there is no adverse impact on the neighborhood from anything that we are proposing to do. I know a lot of other issues have been raised. I respectfully submit that those issues are irrelevant and extraneous to what you should be considering in connection with this application. And with that, I believe you have the plan. I believe you have the explanation that we've given in the past together with what I just ran through right now. And I think that you have, on the basis of that, all that you would need in order to act upon this application. Thank you.
I have one comment, not really.
Okay.
I'd like to see the building dimensions on the site plan and the proposed. I don't think,
Well, you have the,
no, on the building itself, so that at the end, a layperson could go and take a tape and say, yeah, it's 41 feet, 6 inches proposed, and then measure it afterwards, and that's what it is. I think we should have it on all the plans,
They're not putting.
the site plans.
Yeah, they're not putting a new foundation in, though. They're not changing the footprint.
They say they're not changing the footprint. We'll have no way to know.
Well, that's.
You know during construction,
happens.
much better than I do, that things change. And there's always a surprise at the end when we do the as-built.
Well,
Always.
I would hope that if they decide to take that down and remove the foundation, that they would no longer be working under a special permit. It'd then become a variance. So I mean, I'm not disagreeing
I don't
with
think
you.
it's asking very much.
No, I'm not, and I'm not
mean,
disagreeing
really.
with you. I think that that's fine. If, I still have concerns about the tree. I sort of disagree that it's not, it's protecting that tree as
Yeah.
part of the project. But we'll see how everybody else feels. I don't know.
Yes,
how
Bill?
to deal with it.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I did want to say, that is something, if that's something you all wanted to see, you could easily request that of the applicant, or if you were going to go the route of approval, it could be a condition that it must be included on the site plan. I did just want to say, I mean, the potential for a violation of the building permit is with any construction
Yeah,
job,
right.
but we have to sort of err on the side that people are going to abide by what they've applied for.
Well,
It would be nice to-
that's quite naive, Bill.
Well, it's
Yeah.
not
know.
naive, but you're trying to forecast something that you can't say is definitely going to happen.
Right. One of the
And
things.
we'll know that it hadn't happened if we have
Right,
pre
and
and post.
then it becomes-
Come on, really.
Well, it would be nice to at least have a surveyed plan that shows the new proposed conditions certainly minus the driveway. Because the only thing that we have as a proposed site plan is the HGC drawings,
Yeah,
not a survey. To
correct.
your point.
And that's site plan was, I was gonna say it was rubbish, but I was trying to be polite.
Okay, so why don't we talk about, for, if this were to get approved, that as part of the decision, we would want a surveyed plan that shows without the driveway, that shows what's been approved by the HTC as proposed with the building dimensions on it,
Yeah.
if that's a better, I mean, it's,
May I
so
ask
wait, just let me, so we want a surveyed plan that shows the proposed,
Because the stairs move,
yeah.
yeah.
That was my question.
The stairs are still being proposed as moving to Union Street.
Yeah,
Which would allow for the parking area, if they could get the slope in. I still don't think that they can get the slope in to get that to meet, because it looks like it's really much higher. But that would give them the amount of space potentially needed for the driveway, which is the only reason presumably that those stairs are moving.
maybe, or maybe that just to get more, I mean, it doesn't matter why they're, yeah.
Where is this plan in our packet?
It's on the first sheet because it's
Oh, it's the
the
first sheet?
existing.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's the existing.
Okay, sorry.
plan.
So that's existing, but then on page 6,
Is the HTC
dated
plan.
2024,
Yeah,
that's what the HDC approved?
that's right.
So they
page?
approved a driveway?
6.
No, I
Yeah,
don't,
but you still have to go, no, because I don't think they went to the HTC.
It wasn't for
the
hardscape,
That needs to come off.
well, that's what I just said.
Yeah,
That's what we were just saying.
and,
And
and, I'd like to know where that tree, even though it's on another lot that's been subdivided off of this lot, I'd like that to be located on this plan that we're talking about, on the plan that we're asking to be submitted. Can that tree be located on the plan? I would like that tree to be located on the plan. I know it can be.
How do you feel about that, Arthur?
For protection of
never
the
been
tree
asked.
purposes.
To, first of all, with regard to the dimensions of the building, we're not proposing to make any changes in the footprint of the building.
Right.
This is entirely work in interior to the existing footprint on the roof. And I don't believe that there's any need for a plan that would show the dimensions of the building. Obviously, if the building were enlarged in any way, the plot plan that would be done, the as-built plan that would be done for the CO would show different offsets from the setbacks that are shown on the on Jeff Blackwell's plan that we submitted, the existing conditions plan with the application. We didn't bother with a proposed conditions plan because there wouldn't be any change in the footprint. Now, as far as the driveway is concerned, that isn't shown on the Blackwell plan. And again, we're not asking for anything with regard to it. The plan that you're looking at there, which was approved by the HDC, is already an approved HDC plan. It's in the HDC, but it's not your plan. It's not the plan that would be attached to your decision.
But we should have a surveyed plan that is attached to our decision that shows the stairs move to this location. The Blackwell plan shows the existing condition, Arthur.
Blackwell plan is the existing conditions.
And we want a Blackwell plan that shows the proposed condition.
And the existing
different.
conditions would be since we're not asking for any changes to
You're
the,
moving the stairs. You're moving the stairs into the
well, the
building.
front, again, that's not an issue for, that we're asking for relief with regard. We could make that change tomorrow without relief from this board.
But I still think if we want to attach a plan to our decision, because you're in here for relief, the plan should be consistent with what you're eventually going to build.
We may or may, again, we do want to put the stairs on the front of the house.
Right.
Which is their historic position. It's the position that they were in. If you take a look at pictures of the house from years ago, that's where the stairs were.
I guess I just don't know
And again,
what.
they're not going to be in the street. 0 front yard setback is required, and we wouldn't need any relief in order to do that.
I'm wondering what the hesitation in getting Jeff to provide a proposed conditions plan showing the stairs moved. Why is it difficult to ask Jeff to provide a proposed conditions plan showing the stair moved in coordination with the HGC submission that you've submitted as part of this application.
Well, we could do that. I'm not quite sure what the point is because
I'm
it's
more
not
concerned
related to any
about,
relief that we're asking for.
I'm more concerned about the contradiction of the driveway being shown on one plan and then not on another plan, and then in 5 years, when somebody, or when it starts, it suddenly is built and somebody said, oh, my landscaper misunderstood and saw it
Yeah,
and built it, and now we're gonna just ask for
The
forgiveness.
point is that you don't have any jurisdiction over the driveway.
And they'd have to go, they'd
But
have,
I do think we can ask for an accurate plan.
Yeah, I don't
That
think
is
there's anything wrong
something
with
that I think we can ask for, even if we don't have jurisdiction over it, I think we can ask for an accurate plan.
and one, it doesn't preclude the other. So
Right.
like, you're correct. You have the approval, the approved plan from the HDC. I don't think you went for hardscaping yet, right?
I couldn't understand what you said there.
You haven't had, the hardscaping has not been approved by HDC yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not applying for any
So-
hardscaping at this time.
So typically, what I think what we're asking for is just a plan that we can attach to the decision that says it will be, constructed in substantial conformance with the plan that's attached. And so we would like it to be as accurate as possible. It doesn't need to show the driveway. Obviously, you haven't applied for that. It's not part of this application for us. But if you are planning to move the stairs, just a plan that would show, that's showing what's proposed. And Billy, we're making this more
No, I think
confusing
that's
than
a
it
good
has
point,
to be.
because a typical condition with any of these approvals is substantial compliance with the HDC COA. Now, I understand about the portion that's under discussion here is within the setback, but that being said, the HDC COA contains a site plan, it contains the elevations, and it should jive with what the board's gonna approve for a site plan.
So then we should just use the plan from the HDC approval, is what you're saying?
No,
then how come on a
no,
lot
I
of
think,
other-
I think a site plan should
A
probably
survey-
be submitted to
yeah.
jive better, because it's gonna have to be in substantial compliance with the HDC
Right.
approval.
Because I feel like on every application we review, there's an existing conditions plan and a proposed plan that's done by a surveyor. And maybe the conditions are different and they're asking for different things, but I just think it's a cleaner file. Whether or not you end up moving the stairs, not moving the stairs, because I still think I want to get to the discussion of the tree.
Yes.
In Arthur's
I think
defense,
we're going down the,
in Arthur's defense, I understand why they'd have this plan, because the only zoning matter before us is the vertical expansion. And so the structure, from a bird's eye view, again, leave the deck aside, or the steps aside from it, the zoning relief for going vertically, the plan shouldn't change. I mean, it's going to look identical, right? I mean, the structure,
the footprint.
the footprint, thank you,
footprint.
yeah, the footprint is going to
The
look
structure
identical.
will not look
Yeah,
identical,
right.
yeah.
So under whose jurisdiction does the driveway fall under? If they wanted to put in a driveway?
DPW.
That would be the DPW.
that would be
DPW
the
and
DPW, and it would-
HDC.
Even if it's even in the setback
Yeah.
and there is a retaining
can
wall
build-
that
Driveway
does
is not a
not.
structure.
Well, then it ought not to be on the plan.
That's
We don't
correct.
have jurisdiction over it.
Yeah, I'd just like it
Why
to
is
not
it on
be-
the plan that we're looking at?
Yeah, it shouldn't be, there should be a clean plan that doesn't show that and shows the stairs
It should
moved.
be the things that we have jurisdiction
It's
over.
very
But
simple.
other things that we even don't have jurisdiction, I just want it to be accurate.
I don't argue
Right, but
that.
it's not, but there is no driveway right now, and there's no application for a driveway right now, and the driveway is
but
not.
it is on a
Let's just take it off
plan.
the plan, just so
Yeah.
that the
Yeah, no,
file
I
is
agree,
clear.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think we're all saying the same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it is a typical, I don't know that we've ever had to have this discussion before. It's just a plan that it's completed in substantial compliance with this plan. I mean, even 8 Bank Street, that was, the addition of a little triangle or whatever, but we had a plan that was attached of what they were proposing to do, and that included all the other things, even though I can't recall how the footprint was exactly changing or if it was, but we had a plan, even though it was, well, I mean, it was under 50 square feet, I think that they were adding or something, 12 or
12
something.
square feet, that was within our
Right, but
jurisdiction.
just to illustrate the point of having the plan that shows what's proposed, that we can look back on.
And we can give you a proposed conditions plan. It is
Great.
going to look eerily like the existing conditions plan.
That's
That's
fine.
fine.
Yeah, that's,
We don't
that's,
care.
That's what we want.
That's what we
It
want.
may show a change in the stairs
okay,
from the existing.
Well, it
Or it may
should.
not.
Okay.
But, and then again, that's our option because it's not within,
But I think it
Your
should match the
jurisdiction.
HGC approval that's going in the file with this decision, which shows the stairs being moved.
the HDC approval is for the structure.
And for the stairs being relocated.
It includes the stairs being.
That's what I'm saying, your
being moved.
proposed plan might as well show those stairs being relocated, since we're attaching in our decision that HGC
Okay.
approval.
Again, it would make no difference. We could go through the process of this, and either before or after, we could do the stairs because they don't need relief from this board. We'd prefer to move them to the front. And so therefore, we can provide a plan that would, to be attached to the decision.
Great.
That would be consistent with
Great.
their being moved to the front.
Okay.
Again,
great. Thank
outside
you.
your jurisdiction, but we can certainly do that.
okay. So, and then, since we're talking on conditions, if we were to approve this, I was thinking, since we have received so many letters from abutters, I know this, you guys are bringing materials in and out and that, but because it is close quarters, there's a lot of abutters. We have in the past had a condition that the contractor would provide the number of a project manager to maybe even just the immediate abutters. And so that might be
And
relevant,
They would provide it to me as well, so that way if any abutters
complain
wanted
or
to
had
get a hold of them,
questions.
they could
Yeah.
reach out to me and get that information.
So I think that if we were to approve this, I would want to see that on this particular project, unless anyone has any objections to that. And then also the letter from the Tree Advisory Committee, that, there's some of the language was included, and that we're talking about construction activities shall not cause damage to Union Street. Any damage caused shall be repaired and restored to its original condition or better prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. And there was from David Shampoo, the tree warden, suggestions that if we were to approve this, that we considered using the following language as a condition, that construction activities shall not cause damage to the historic town-owned Elm Street at 43 Union Street. No soil disturbance and no storage of material or passage of construction equipment shall be permitted on the site so that root damage or soil compaction does not occur. No removal of any limbs from the tree is permitted by anyone other than the town arborist or his designee, which I don't think we can condition that. We would say they would contact the town warden if anything needed to be done to the tree, right? It's
If you
not,
have to,
Yeah,
it's a town tree, you can't do
you
it.
can't anyway, right?
No, but the building department, who is the enforcement arm of the zoning code, would have no jurisdiction to enforce something done
Okay,
to
so
a
maybe
tree.
we can't do that because that would be something that would be a violation of the tree ward.
The issue with it, and especially with this 13933, it has to do with structures and or uses. Trees are not defined in zoning code, so that's where I struggle with it. I don't know everything over here, but
Right.
that's where I get stuck.
Well, so where we're conditioning, I mean, we do condition regularly, even on private roads, that if there's, any disturbance of, like, that you have to regrade the road, or you have to revegetate, or you have to do all of those things. For this, I don't know, can we condition no removal of any limbs? No, that would have to go, because that's a separate process. That's like saying, they'd have to.
I mean, I know, I have talked with superiors about this, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe the board has any jurisdiction to make conditions about a tree. And that it's a town-owned tree, I just don't, I don't think there's any clear law there as to how that's.
Well, just,
May I ask
just,
Mr.
wait.
Shampoo a
hold-
question, though,
oh, is-
about this?
Yeah, but just hold on one second, and then, because how are we then able to say, and maybe it's because how are we able to say that if you cause damage to a town street, you have to repair that before a CO is issued? It can't, I mean, maybe
My
we
my
can't.
only concern there is a town, you know, an elm that's however many years old, you're never gonna replant the same thing.
No, right.
You can redo sidewalks and streets and have them
Okay.
be fairly similar. There's no replacing a tree of that age. I mean, with time, I guess.
May I ask Dave a question?
If I may, with regard to any damage to the tree, there is provision in the law, not zoning. It's not
Right,
a zoning
that's what I was
issue.
gonna ask.
But there is provision in the tree that if a town tree is damaged, there are penalties attached to the act of damaging the tree and against the person who damages it. That's the remedy, and it's not a zoning issue.
Okay.
And it's on an adjacent lot anyway, but
Right.
even if we, through something we do, damage the tree, we are liable for it.
I wanted
Okay.
to ask Dave if there was is there a bylaw somewhere in the town, not in zoning, that says that, you know, what you're able to do to a town tree as a citizen? Is there something? Can Dave answer that? Yeah.
Yes, please.
It's really there is fines, but it's minuscule. There is absolutely
No teeth.
nothing you can really do to, you know, for any kind of real, what's the word I'm looking for? Damages to the tree. It's just a fine. So really, to protect the tree, in this case, I would suggest that it's either a yes or no. To me, it's just a yes or no. You can very easily say no to this project and not give any other reason for that. To me, it's as simple as
Well,
that.
I think my question was, is there a way to word it in our decision that says that no, per town bylaw, blah, 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 no work can be done to a town tree without further, you know, previous approval by the town tree committee?
Well, I would hope that all of this is communicated. If you do end up approving this project, which I hope you don't, all of this information is communicated to the building department. So we get in place, you know, parameters that are going to determine how this is all going to go about. You know, if it does go forward, we want a substantial fence that fences off the property line. So there's no movement of material to the next lot. I don't want to see definitely, I don't want to see the stairs taken off, because I think there's going to be root damage to that if that happens. But of course, that's not in your purview here. But one thing we haven't talked about is I mean, I labeled this project years ago absurd, what they wanted to do initially with this. They wanted to hand dig the foundation of this for the other project on 43A. This is almost as absurd. There's no talk about the amount of construction debris that's going to come off that house. And it's going to have to be schlepped across the street, put in a dumpster, and it's not like it's across the street, because I think it's Fayette Street that's right there. You know, the container, if a container is allowed to be put in the street, it's got to be, it's over here someplace. All of this material, and it's probably at least 2 containers full of construction debris. After all said, not to mention, you know, renovations inside the house, you know, what that's going to entail as far as debris. Nantucket in the wintertime used to be a fairly, you know, the restriction is not between Memorial Day and Labor Day, but in the wintertime, I mean, we're we're a large town, a lot more large than we were back when I first moved here 47 years ago. So, I mean, that's a busy street. It's one of the major thoroughfares coming into town. You've got a lot of, and you'll have a lot of debris coming off. This business about we're gonna take it away day by day is, I mean, you're still taking it across the street. I mean, it's something to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because the tree isn't really in our jurisdiction. I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way to condition it in a way that we put up a fence around, like, you know, a reasonable fence around the root ball system, that there
Yeah.
can be no disturbance beyond that.
Yeah, but
You know,
I
things
think-
like that, because
So,
I mean, if there, I would like to see it fenced off, period. you
but is
know.
that,
mean, if
I
it-
don't think that's, I don't know that that's the job of the zoning board.
Probably not.
And I'm not being,
No,
I just
no,
don't know.
I agree, but I mean-
Is that the job of the, of,
Building department, I would think the
or what
building
about you,
department.
what about the tree advisory commission? Do you have any, like, does the, like, do you, I mean, I just, I don't know that we have the authority to do that. I think the one thing you said that we might be able to condition on is that they're, ask for a construction fence so that debris remains on the lot and is not going into a butter's area, property or onto Union Street. That seems something reasonable that we could do. But the rest of these, I think the condition that was suggested, if there's you know, potential damage to the tree, soil disturbance or compaction of soil, removal of limbs, and anything to do with the town arborist, those, as far as evaluating the tree, those seem to be covered not in the zoning code, therefore not enforceable by us, but by whatever portion of or section of the bylaw was mentioned earlier that covers town trees and any damage done to them. And I think, unfortunately, this may be one of those things where it's going to be the job of the abutters and the tree advisory committee to keep an eye on that and monitor that, so that that's where the enforcement comes in. If there, I just don't know that we, as the zoning board under chapter 139, can leak over to another, to do that.
But I think, you know, if you do, that's, I think we've already gone over the fact that, I mean, there's very little recourse we have other than fines and it really comes to the tree warden of the town. And that's it. It really is it.
I'm not trying to
We can
pass the
certainly-
buck.
We
I
can
just,
certainly litigate the whole thing if there's damages.
Yeah.
But for the day-to-day stuff, you know, after the damage is done,
I
what
completely.
good are damages? you
Yeah,
know?
I completely agree. I just think, and I'm not, again, I'm not trying to pass the buck. I just, if we put those in a decision, they're not enforceable and it could be overturned because it's not within our purview. So I'm just trying to think of how we can, what can we do
I
that's
think
within.
you got, what you have to do is, I think, officially communicate what we want to do to the building department, not part of your decision, but when you render, if you render the decision in their favor, you communicate this, all of this material to the building department.
And
So-
I would suggest that letters
And
should go.
certainly we will too.
Yeah, of course,
of
right, that was
course,
gonna be, okay. I see Elisa has a question and Billy has his hand up, so.
Billy, do you have a, something that's?
I have this section in front of me in
Thank you.
code, which is 132, and 132-8, which is violations and penalties and enforcement. So it's a $300 fine if you violate the chapter, which is, you know, it's
Nothing.
just similar to HDC and all of that.
Okay, so I have an idea.
Hang on.
Oh, sorry.
Hang on. So this chapter shall be enforced by the town tree warden. The town tree warden may enforce this chapter by non-criminal disposition pursuant to section 1.1 of the code. So I think it's hard for this board to transfer that power to the building department without language to back that up.
Okay, I have a thought, and I don't, I'm actually inclined to approve the construction going up. It's not within our purview to say whether we like the stairs where they are or moving, so I won't comment on that. But even though it's not enforceable by us, maybe the applicant would be willing to ask that we put it on our approval as a condition, even though it's not really enforceable by us, but it's showing in good faith on their behalf that they are willing to protect the tree, set up like the wetlands fences that we've always seen, a temporary fence with the small stakes, nothing that's gonna like drive through the root system, some big fence, but like a silt fence, like the old-fashioned silt fence with maybe hay bales or something. Maybe they could voluntarily propose that they're gonna do that. It will make us more comfortable, it will make it more approvable, and it will make the neighbors happy. Is that something that your clients would do, Arthur?
Can I
If you think it's a good idea.
have a question for Mr. Shampoo.
I do also.
Basically, yes. First of all, we are agreeable to, and we may have already said that we would, put a silt fence along the boundary line, along the property line, to keep the operations entirely on this lot. And perfectly happy to have a condition in the decision should indicate, I think, that we have agreed to it, to use our best efforts to not cause any damage to the town tree on the adjacent lot. We have no desire to harm the tree. And we believe, based upon what we've done, what our own arborist has told us with regard to even a project that we had, which is not before you, on the adjacent lot, that we can operate without any damage to the tree, and specifically with regard to this, operating in the way that we propose to do it. As I say, not storing materials outdoor on the site and removing any outdoor trash on a daily basis, that we can, under that we're doing the best we can. in
Yeah,
terms of
since
any
it's
issues
not
with
within our
regard to the tree.
jurisdiction, not enforceable by us, and not really something we can decide upon, I think that's the next best thing, that the applicant give their word, unless there was some other
Could you
way
put, yeah.
to,
By the way, this
Make it-
being an in-town project, we obviously would assume that you would have the usual condition in the decision, and Dave
Right.
sort of made mention to, that there would be no work done between, Memorial Day and Labor Day, or whatever the dates are that you're usually using.
Would you be willing
and
to?
that there's no driveway intended, I think could go in that wording as well.
We're not applying for a driveway.
What's that?
He's not going to put that in.
Okay,
Well,
guys, we're starting to
you don't
talk
wanna-
over each other, so I
Okay.
know John has a question and Jim has a question, both for, I think, Mr.
Yes.
Shampoo.
Thank you,
So,
Madam Chair.
do you mind
Through
going back to the
to
mic?
Mr. Shampoo. Dave, I know this is not a unique situation. Have contractors come to you and asked for advice on construction methodology on how to protect town trees? And if so, perhaps maybe that's a solution for a condition for our decision, that the applicant will consult with the
Well,
tree
what the-
warden, because we shouldn't be trying to figure out what the
That's a
best
good idea.
practice is, because we know,
I don't think it's your.
we have no idea. No,
but-
you don't know.
Okay, one person, please talk at a time.
Yeah.
So,
They,
Mr. Shampoo,
What they primarily do, now that we're getting closer to having a comprehensive tree map of town, we're getting a lot more calls about concern that this is a town tree, and not necessarily the mechanics. I leave that to Dale Gary, the town arborist. He comes and, he monitors the project. But
Great, that's.
but there is communication.
Good.
For the good contractor.
Yeah.
Certainly there's,
Understood. No, I think that's good to hear. My suggestion was going to be, and for what it's worth, I'm inclined to approve this, but that we would have a condition that the applicant's contractor will consult with the town arborist and the tree advisory committee with construction methodology to ensure the protection of the neighboring town tree.
That's a great idea.
Jim?
Can you just reiterate what damage, the risk of damage, for instance, on the if they choose to remove the stairs, how could that damage it? And what are your other concerns about?
I don't know what, if they're removing if the foundation, I don't know what, actually, I don't know what's there, It's
Probably
concrete, so-
piles, right?
And is it also your concern that
So,
the traversing that area
Certainly.
of the tree?
there can't be any mechanical,
Yeah.
we can't be any operation of anything mechanical on the site.
And will you chain yourself to the tree if need be? That might be an answer. Sorry, Rob.
That might be a good condition to put in.
Yeah, not,
Well, so no mechanical equipment then, like no lifts or
no,
can go back here or even Kubotas or anything. Everything has to be done hand.
yeah.
That's why I think having some sort of a, to Elisa's point, the fencing, but actually have it create more of a narrow walkway to get into the site so that, you're not walking over the root system every day. If the stairs are being taken off, just come in right where the stairs are and fence everything to the side of that so the tree is
Yeah,
protected.
there's a sidewalk there.
So
No, but,
again, I think we're getting into murky waters because we don't manage. I mean, we request for construction methodology, but I haven't seen us get into this level of, this sounds like more like something that Concom would do with like wetlands, right?
I know, I agree.
So
but
I don't-
It's such a difficult thing
I know.
because it is,
I-
is this project more detrimental to the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
That's especially.
Yeah,
And
that's-
the
that's-
back
That's
part
the
of it is,
standard, yeah.
I think,
The potential risk to the neighborhood is the
great.
substantial
town.
detriment to the neighborhood and the town is increased with the potential damage to this
very
town tree.
important tree, yes.
Yeah, and that's
and
my
they're
take on this. I think
replacing
that
it.
you certainly could roll in the town tree and the concerns about that in the substantial standard.
Yeah.
I don't see why that's not ignoring it. That's how we deal with it.
Yeah.
If we have that.
Even though they're not asking for
So,
relief on the stairs, it's still the whole project.
okay, so at this point, we have.
You
the-
lose a tree, you change the neighborhood, is kind of what Mr. Shampoo
Yeah.
is saying.
So I think we're running into, we have assurances from the applicant that they are going to use best efforts not to cause damage to the town tree. I think I'm hearing that they're willing to, the contractor will consult with the town tree committee and the tree warden regarding the construction methodology, that the applicant is agreeing to put the silt fence around the property line and around the tree to protect it that way. And provide the contact number to staff and abutters of the contractor or project manager on site, construction manager, whatever the correct term is, for complaints, concerns, questions, et cetera. I get the importance. I just want to remind the board that one thing that I was told when I was early on this board, probably still an alternate, was, we do have to take the applicant at their word, and it's hard to, yes, we want to do prevention, but Arthur's telling us that they're going to use their best efforts, and I think we need to take them at their word for that, and we should. And I hope that there is no harm to this tree. It would be a terrible shame.
Madam Chair, can I
Yeah.
just comment on that?
Yeah.
I don't view it that way. It's not we got their word. Damage to the tree could happen,
Of course.
like, they didn't intentionally do it.
Right.
And it could be 3 years later when we realize that. So, yeah, I'm not viewing it that way, but I'm
Okay.
viewing it as it could
Let's,
happen.
yeah,
Unintended consequences.
Yeah.
So.
I certainly trust Arthur and that they don't want to kill, they don't want to be the tree killers of Union Street. There's no question
No.
about that.
So what happens?
Madam
so-
Chair, can I
Yes.
ask a quick question of Mr. Shampoo? If the applicant is to go to the tree advisory committee, you wouldn't be issuing a permit in this instance, would you? It'd just be more of a discussion?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was my question, like what happens if they weren't here for zoning relief? Like what happens on other projects where there's a town tree either on the property or adjacent? I mean, there was a project on York Street, I think, where there was a town tree and it was, a big deal. And that was resolved, and I don't know if that wasn't before us, but
That unfortunately was not a good result, but fortunately, the tree for now is alive.
okay.
That whole thing is,
Because they cut one
that's
down.
another stick in my craw project, for
Okay,
sure.
okay.
I mean,
So I guess
that,
I'm hoping that whatever typically happens in a good scenario is happening outside of this decision with this project. And I would hope that the applicant does work in good faith
we can
with,
hope, but,
with
I
the tree
think,
committee.
When they apply to the DPW if they decide to put a driveway in, and they apply to the DPW, do you guys get notified of that? You do?
Oh, you do?
and there's no chance, getting the parking area there.
Yeah. I would assume, just given the grade, but you are notified so that you would be able to
Oh, yeah.
comment about the
Oh,
tree?
absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Okay,
We
so,
have- We have it's where we meet at the DPW, so I mean, I'm talking to Drew all the time.
Yeah.
okay, so I
Now,
think,
just one thing.
sure.
This business of the silt fence, it's really not substantial enough. I mean, it's just that high. Stuff will go across that, it's like, again, we're
What do you suggest?
something taller.
But then you have to put in more support into the
I think,
ground,
you
that's
know, I
what's
mean,
the,
Steel stakes, I mean, it's not
Shouldn't they be
something you gotta-
discussing
It's not a
this
constructed fence.
Yeah.
at when they,
Yeah, I
consultation.
think
Yeah.
when you guys, when the contractor or the applicant work with you to discuss the construction methodology, that's where you guys, I think we can say construction fencing, you guys can figure out how tall and what material, that's gonna be, I have no idea what to suggest for that, and it's
Barbed
not our
wire.
place.
Right.
So I think I've heard from a few members that they're inclined to approve it with appropriate conditions. Oh, sorry, is there any other conditions that we want to discuss before we move on to anyone online or anyone in the audience?
Arthur did say that they are not going to be putting a dumpster or a roll-off on the site, but like Mr. Shampoo said, just from experience, and I think we've all seen this, there is going to be a lot of debris, and that's going to be a lot of manual hauling of what they have to demo to build up and moving the stairs. Is it worth it to also say there will be no dumpster to be located on site? Because what if somebody a roll-off just appears, like
What's a roll-off?
a roll-off is
A
a big
dumpster.
dumpster.
like right over the tree roots?
Yeah, that's the size of a truck
Well, I think,
bed.
didn't you just say there would be no dump, I mean,
Yeah, but should
earlier?
we note it in the conditions? Just so there's
Yeah.
no confusion.
Okay.
Because when that goes rolling off of a dump truck, it makes a huge impact if it hit the base of the tree or the
Okay.
root system. I
No
think it's worth
dumpster,
mentioning.
no dumpster or on site,
Or roll off, yeah.
or roll-off on site, okay.
Or on the adjacent site.
Oh, because
Yeah.
that is
Right.
relative.
Don't forget, this is
Yeah, yeah,
two
that's-
lots here. and-
Right.
It's a
Well, I don't
family.
know, we
Well-
don't have any, this decision isn't
Well,
about.
see, now, there's a problem.
Well, I
But
was
we-
going to say, can we put in the decision, I know you're going to put in the decision that they're going to confer with the town arborist, but is there a way to get that attached, their conference attached to the decision so that we as a board understand that it took place and that that the town
No,
arborist is-
I don't think so, and I'm also hoping that it's a continued conversation that happens over the course of this decision, project. We don't have any, the adjacent property is not before us. We don't have any control over that. I don't think we can say what or what is not put on an adjacent property.
And the board can't like base their decision on another board or,
No.
you know, it's
Yeah,
strictly
we-
within your
So
purview here.
we've now spent almost an hour on this, and I think we haven't gotten any further really
I
than,
think we can handle that. I mean, I said earlier that we would be agreeable to a condition and would suggest a condition, that we wouldn't be doing any work on the adjacent site. The work would be done entirely on this site, and that, I think, covers it. We won't use the other lot.
To store any
Or
materials.
or anybody else's property in connection with this. It'll be entirely within the 4 corners or 6 corners or whatever there are of our lot.
Because you're going to put that fence up between the 2 properties, you had said. Okay.
okay, so another condition would be work entirely on the site, no work or storage on the adjacent site. Okay, so I have 10 conditions written down here. Are there any other comments or questions from the board before we go? I know, before we go to the public? No. Nikki, do you have anyone online, just so I have an understanding of who's waiting?
Not at this time, Madam Chair.
No, okay. So if you could just identify yourself, I know you've spoken before at prior meetings, but if you could just identify yourself for the recording, and you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm Elizabeth Coffin at 47 Union Street. And my concern primarily has to do with the vertical rise. That I feel that that's a substantially damaging enhancement of the current structure, which is already, in other words, it will amplify and extend and make worse this nonconformity. The reason I think that is because it is going to block the air and the sun to both sides neighbors on Union Street. And the other reason is that that's just the immediate abutters. But all of the houses under the embankment, of which this is one, and this happens to be an extreme one because it is so tightly landlocked. I don't know of any other, I'm under the embankment, my house, 47 Union, is under the embankment as well. I have an elm tree as well. But none of us are as forced in to the back of the embankment. This house, 43 Union, they actually cut the base of the embankment in order to get the back patio in. So you've already got a encircling land formation which determines a great deal of what's going on. And I also wanted to thank you for asking for real dimensions and real measurements, because I don't believe that you can fit a staircase at the front. I also believe that it's never been a staircase at the front. So none of this can we know about without the dimensions and without accurate plans. Part of the problem is we couldn't get accurate plans because the HDC got shut down from COVID. So they never had the chance to hear my long spiel about sun and air. The other thing about the embankment is that this will have a potential domino effect all along the houses on Union Street, because they may all want to rise their back elevations as well. And there is no other house on Union Street on that side that has a vertical rise of such magnitude. You will be creating and establishing a new precedent. I don't know if we don't want to live with that, and we're the ones you're asking us to go along with accordance with what you determine. We're having a hard time getting along with this as is. It has been 6 years, and it feels harassing. Mary Ellen Peters, who was not able to be here because of medical appointments, asked you last time to come to a conclusion so that we're not drawn through this once more. I ask you to deny it, and all the other members of the immediate abutters ask you to as well. And I just I regret very much our opposition has hardened off because this particular applicant keeps coming forward and asking for more and more and more. He doesn't seem to understand that he lives with other people around him. So our opposition is quite obdurate. And you're potentially playing into a worsening feature, a social feature, as well as the physical features that you're going to change.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments. For the speaker?
Just a clarification, if Arthur Reed could just answer a simple question. From the existing ridge of the house as it sits now to what was approved by HDC, so from ridge to ridge, what's the increase? How many feet? I can't read on here.
I don't know, I'd have to look at the.
If anybody can, I can't read
It looks like it
but-
exists at 9 feet and going to 20 maybe? It's hard to read the,
Give me 1 second, because I can access our system and
Pull
get
up
the
the-
actual PDF. Hang on one
Yeah.
moment.
Okay, so while Billy's doing that, why don't we let the gentleman speak who was at the mic? Yep. Yeah, Herschel, do you want to? Okay. Arthur, let's let Herschel speak while you and Billy figure out the answer to Elisa's question. Does that work? Oh, you want to go over there? Okay.
I'm sorry?
I'm just going to let him have the time at the mic while you and Billy figure out the answer to Elisa's question.
Herschel Allerhand, also 47 Union Street. I realize that you have to take the applicant's word that the work is going to be done the way they claim it's going to be done, but you also have to use common sense. If you look at the area, if they're not going to be able to use a dumpster, there's no way every day somebody's going to haul in the material. By what? By hand, by truck? How are they going to do it? And then bring it back and forth. And there's no room except on Union Street for this material to go. So I realize that you have to take Mr. Reed is not trying to deceive you, and the people who are going to try to work are not going to try to deceive you. But when it gets right down to it, the people doing the work, and I'm not denigrating anyone, they won't even speak English. And you to expect that every day they're going to pick up all the material, take it back, and every morning they're going to haul in it again is not reasonable. At the very least, if you're going to okay this, and I hope you don't, is that please leave us a name or a phone number of somebody to call if the work is not being done the way they expect it to be done. I'm not making my life's journey to worry about how they're doing it, but we pass them every day as we walk town. And it could be very easily seen if there's stuff standing in the middle of Union Street or it's not being hauled away and there's no one to talk to as they're doing it. So you have to take into consideration whether it's reasonable that the plan they're giving you is reasonable, and I don't see how it's going to be done. And second of all, if it's not being done the way they do say it's going to be done, how do you stop it in the midst of it? Or how at least give us a phone number to call? Thank you.
So just to answer part of that or address part of it, that is one of the things that I added for when we have projects that we are able to condition that come before us in these more congested areas where there's close contact. We do add as a condition that the phone number for the contractor is given to the abutters and to staff so that abutters or neighbors do have the ability to contact if things aren't being done. I agree with you that it will be a onerous project for them to keep the site clean, remove everything and bring it back. But if that's what they're agreeing to, then that's what they need to do. And if they aren't doing it, then I imagine neighbors and abutters will be calling the building department or the contractor daily to bring that to their attention. And as you said, or whoever said, Union Street is one of the most traveled thoroughfares to get in and out of town, or to get into town. So if it is in disarray, then it's going to be noticeable, and it won't be allowed to continue. So I agree with you, though, that's a huge undertaking to do that every day. Billy, did you find what you were looking for?
Yeah. It's kind of hard on
You have the drawings there, Arthur?
Extent to which we're going up, it'd be helpful if I show you. the full
Yeah, could you show them? I'm sure that would, yeah. And what did you find, Billy?
I can read the existing height, I can't read the
It looks like
overall
it's
height.
more than doubling the height.
13 is the existing height, and I can't make out if it's a 2 or a 3.
This is what we're doing, we're going up.
I
Put
borrow
a
it for
second
a
story on the rear part of the building is
That's okay, no worries.
We have the tape measure, huh?
I don't think so. I do have a magnifying glass.
Well, I'm just gonna do something here. Can I borrow this?
roof ridge on the rear of the building is going up. It's not going to be as high as the roof ridge on the front part of the building. And the dormers will be on the sides of the roof. I know at one point there'd been a question about runoff. Runoff, obviously, since the roof area remains the same, will remain exactly the same. And there's nothing being directed in a different direction.
So what is the
And,
existing, Billy? 13 feet?
I think
I think
that
it's gonna
should
go up to
clarify
about
what we're
20. It
doing.
looks like it's going up about, no, excuse me, I did that wrong. Another like third of the 13, so another, 4 to 5 feet, just graphically. So it's going up 6 feet, maybe? I don't know.
ridgeline existing.
Wait, are these the ones that we're looking at there? Is this the same? Yeah, I guess it is the same. It's funny. It's funny that the drawing submitted with the same, see if they have it.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted, I was
And these
curious
don't have the
how
dimensions.
dramatic this height difference is going to be.
Yeah, it's,
Oh, here it is. I knew there was a page that had it. It goes from 13 feet to 21 feet 10 inches, 22 feet. So 7 feet 10 inches.
50%.
Thank you, Arthur. Let me slide these down.
And Arthur, I mean, can you respond to Ms. Kaufman's comments about it being different, this addition to everything else on the street? I mean, that sounds like we're getting back into HDC world, but.
yeah, all I would say on that is that design issues like that are up to the HDC, including the context of the neighborhood, and the HDC has approved it. I'm certainly not going to look past their expertise in this field.
At this point, there's nobody on Zoom. Okay, so at this point, I think unless there are questions or concerns or objections to the vertical expansion, I think we need to think about closing the public hearing portion and deliberate.
Second.
Okay, so Elisa made the motion, John seconded. I will do a roll call. So Elisa?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Okay. So at this point, the public hearing is closed, meaning we won't take any more information in, but we'll talk about how we are going to move forward on this. So if we were to, okay, so I'm just going to start on this. So staff worked with the applicant's agent, and the applicant's agent confirmed that no excavation will take place. The nonconformities existing on the lot, which are, it's non-conforming with respect to side yard setbacks with a northerly setback of approximately 2.11 feet and a southerly setback of approximately 1.51 feet, both less than the required 5 feet in the ROH district. The lot contains approximately 1,708 square feet of area, well below the 5,000 square foot minimum, and it was created through the 81L subdivision. The property does exceed the district's maximum permitted ground cover ratio of 40%, currently at 52.7. And all of these nonconformities are legally protected under the zoning bylaw. And the HDC did issue a certificate of appropriateness for the proposed design. So if we were inclined to approve the request, we would need to determine, or we must determine, that such extension, alteration, or change shall not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure and/or use to the neighborhood, and that the non-conforming setback distance is not made more non-conforming, and that the extension will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conformity. So if we were to approve, the findings would be that the proposed alterations do not increase any existing nonconformities or create new nonconformities. The project is consistent with the character of the ROH zoning district and is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing conditions, and that the project complies with the provisions of 13933A, 1A, and 13930 of the Nantucket zoning bylaw. The conditions that we've discussed so far. So I have 10, so let me read through what I think I've put together with my notes, and then if anyone has questions or comments about a specific condition, let's circle back and tweak it at that point. Does that make sense? Just so we can get through them okay. So the conditions suggested by staff are, 1, the proposed alteration shall be in substantial compliance with the site plans submitted by the applicant attached hereto as Exhibit A. Applicant has agreed to provide us with a surveyor plan showing the proposed, including the building dimensions. 2, the project shall conform to the plans approved by the Historic District Commission. And 3, there shall be no further alterations or expansions of the structure without additional relief from this board. 4, construction activities shall not cause damage to Union Street, and any damage caused shall be repaired and restored to its original condition or better prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. 5, there shall be no exterior construction allowed between Memorial Day and Labor Day of any given year for the work contemplated herein. 6, the applicant shall provide to staff and abutters the phone number, mobile number of the project manager or on-site manager of the project. And if that person changes, we'll update staff and abutters accordingly. 7, the applicant shall install construction fencing along the lot line and around the town tree to protect the abutters and the tree from debris. 8, the applicant shall use best efforts to prevent any damage to the town tree, and the applicant and contractor will work with the tree warden and the town tree committee to discuss and plan construction methodology. John, you said it much better than I did. There will be no dumpster or roll-off on the site. And the applicant proposed, or the applicant shall complete all work entirely on the site. No work or storage shall occur on the adjacent lot. Or we'll say all work and storage shall occur on the site, not on other lots. We can work on that. Okay. So I think those are the 10 that I had. Obviously, I stumbled over a couple of them, so we can.
I would like to add, Chair,
Sure.
to 7, sort of like what we're saying in 8, that when discussing the fencing along the lot line and around the tree, that Mr. Shampoo gets consulted on that, on fencing type and on the fencing when that time comes. In other words, it's not left up to the laborers who work for the contractor to.
Maybe we just combine that then to one condition. John, can you reread how you worded it? Did you have that written down? Oh, no, you just said it off the fly? Darn it. Want to give it a
You can't
stab?
recreate it?
It was something like contractor will consult with the town tree committee. Did you write it down, Nikki? Thank you. And add in language about the fence while you're at it.
The applicant will consult with the town arborist and the tree warden regarding the construction methodology, which would include but not be limited to any fencing around the tree and properties.
And property.
Yeah, property line.
Okay. Okay, so that's good, yep. So, any suggestions on the, number 10 applicant, or I guess number 9 now, applicant, like the work shall be entirely on the site, no work or storage on the adjacent lot? Well,
On any
that's,
adjacent lots. Well, they only own one, but
No work or storage
on the adjacent property.
performed.
The decision always lists the property sort of
yeah, we don't,
statistics.
I mean, the site is
So it'll
always gonna
definitely
be,
be referencing that specific property.
yeah. Yeah, I wasn't looking to change the word site, I was just thinking how to say, applicant, just, I guess, applicant shall conduct all work related to this project on site, no work or storage shall be on any adjacent lots, I don't know. Can we say that, though? Can't, I mean, wouldn't we just, if we say it's all, I mean, if we say it's,
The applicant has agreed that all work will take place on this site and no work on the adjacent lot. Yeah, work or storage, on it, which Arthur agreed to.
Yeah.
Then it's not on,
right,
it just goes in that he
Thank-
agreed to that.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any additional conditions, questions, or revisions to how I read them?
Oh, I'm sorry, actually. The public hearing closed. No, you're not. Yep, okay.
Is there no, is there no storage on the site, or is it just no construction?
There's no storage. Didn't you say that, Arthur? Didn't you say that there would be no storage of materials on site?
No, outdoors, inside the house.
Yeah,
only.
inside, okay,
Yep.
yeah,
That's right.
okay.
I can combine them, but if you keep number 10 and that sort of all work shall remain on the site there, we could make an additional condition for that. No storage of any materials on the exterior.
Yeah,
Okay,
yep,
And that would include piles of debris waiting to be picked up. That's storage,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
okay.
Can you condition that at the end of the day, the site has to be cleaned?
well, I think we could say no storage of materials or rubbish, or,
or
you know,
debris, yeah.
exterior storage of, I think it's kind of covered under materials if there's,
Yeah.
Materials slash debris might be the way to go.
You never know how somebody will interpret materials.
Yeah.
That's for
It's
construction.
new,
Yeah. Debris is trash, it's not materials.
right.
okay. Do you want me to read conditions again, or you think we're good? Okay. Um, Okay. Is there a motion out there?
I'll make a motion to approve the root leaf as requested with the conditions that we discussed.
Okay, so I'll do roll call vote. John?
Aye.
Elisa?
Aye.
Lisa?
Yes, with a lot of concerns about the tree.
Okay, Joe?
No,
Okay, and myself, aye. So that carries 4-1 with the conditions. And when the decision is drafted, I'll be paying close attention to the
I'm
conditions.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm doing this after the fact. Did you make mention of the new survey that shows the stairs fitting and everything?
Yeah, I said the, yeah, number 1.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so, okay, so hold on to my notes. Okay, so that carries. Thank you all for your time and for your concern for the town and stewardship. I appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the next application we have is anyone from Cohen's office here? Okay.
No,
So-
I don't see anyone online.
Okay, well, I had requested if they weren't going to show up that they withdraw this, so if they haven't, there literally no one's online for this?
No.
No, okay.
And I will say, and I put it in the staff report,
Yep.
this was submitted in April of 2024, and it's sat dormant since then.
Yeah, so if they haven't, they knew, they've been asked about this, and I was very clear that I wanted someone to say something. So what, at this point, can we deny it? Or do we withdraw it? Or,
I think we should deny it.
I'd like it off the agenda, and they can reapply if they want to, but this is now a waste of our time, because this is the second or third time that this has come up and no one has shown up. And
Madam Chair, if we deny it, can they come back?
That was my only.
we can, so I guess we can withdraw, we can allow them, we can withdraw without prejudice?
Can we
No,
force
I
them
don't
to
want to give
withdraw
them.
it?
What?
Can we force them to withdraw it?
I don't think so.
I think we should just.
So I think the
So-
alternative
Look,
is a denial, and that being
Isn't one of
said,
the owners an attorney?
What?
Isn't one of the owners an attorney?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I know
she's
she.
being-
I
No,
know
but
she is.
being
she's
appealed.
the one being appealed. She's not, this is the neighborhood.
Oh, this.
It's not her. It's
She-
her business.
She shouldn't be here?
Well, I mean, there's other things going, there's two different paths that this could be taking, but this has been before us for a long time. We have
Right.
repeatedly requested either some update and information, someone to come explain, and they have not. And I'm not, this isn't against Stephen Cohen. I understand he is, in recovery, whatever, but they have other attorneys and people and representatives that work in that office or have, that could have done this. So we've never had to do this in the entire time I think that I've sat on the board, but this needs to, I don't know.
Motion to
mean, it's-
deny.
Motion to deny on the table. Okay. Is there a second for denial?
Second.
And Joe has made a motion to deny. Okay, so we have Elisa and Joe. Okay, yep.
Sorry, if we deny it,
Mm-hmm.
do they then have to petition the planning board to come back and say that this is their next application is different? No. Is there a cooling off period if they
So
are
They
done?
could, well,
I put this in the staff report, but they have been advised to apply for a pre-existing non-conforming extension, alteration, or change.
and I had specifically asked them to withdraw, and they did not. So,
I think anybody can ask the building inspector to enforce it and appeal it.
yeah,
So
I mean,
don't
it can be a
think we're
different
gonna-
person,
Thank
so.
you, Jim. That's a good point, because all
Yeah.
it takes is them a request of enforcement that gets denied for them to
Yeah.
appeal.
Yeah.
So, okay, so again, we have a motion for denial on the floor. Elisa has made it, Joe has seconded, and I will do a roll call vote. So Elisa?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Joe, did I just call you? Oh, myself, aye, is that 5? Or Lisa,
four.
sorry.
Aye.
Okay, so that is denied. Okay, so that's that. And then our last one, you're recused from this one? Okay, so,
Aye.
so Jim, would you sit on this one then, if Jim's, I mean, if John's out?
Yes.
Okay, so the board on this one then will be myself, Elisa, Lisa, Joe, and Jim. Okay, so this is 2025-0016, Michael L. Stone and Susan A. Stone, 6 Marcus Way, and Attorney Reed is presenting for the applicant, so you have the floor.
Nikki, can you move Michael Stone over?
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Attorney Arthur Reed, once again, representing the applicants on this project, Michael and Susan Stone. And Michael is on the Zoom call and will be helping me with certain points on this. This is a very unusual piece of property. It's not unique. There have been at least 2 cases involving this situation in the past. This particular property has been before the board twice in the past. And the circumstance here, this is out in Tom Nevers. Coffin Road in Tom Nevers, and there are various Coffin Roads and Coffin Streets throughout the island, so it's important to recognize where we are. Runs from Tom Nevers Road northerly and historically cuts through a number of lots that had been created. It was a paper street at the time that those lots were created, and they were, when the property was redivided out there, they straddled Coffin Street, which came as a dashed line through the lots. However, rights existed in Coffin Road, and Coffin Road provided the access to a piece of land that was originally intended to be the Nantucket Airport. It belonged to the Curtis Wright Corporation. And in fact, if that had ever wound up being the Nantucket Airport, we would have in fact had the Tom Nevers Field of Wings in real life. And in any event, obviously there was never anything more than a landing strip out there, but there were cross runways laid out, and those cross runways became ultimately the Wright's Landing subdivision after the Curtis Wright Corporation sold the property to a developer, Jeff Kashulik and Peter Ogren. And as part of that, their access road was Coffin Road, which had to be improved in accordance with subdivision approval, which they had the right to do. And since it thereby became a road, you had the circumstance that you can't have a lot on both sides of a road, and each side of the road became a separate lot as far as zoning was concerned, even though they were shown on the land court plan as a single lot. So it came before the board in 2010, and a variance was issued under these very peculiar circumstances to validate the 2 halves, 2 portions of this lot as separate building lots. And then subsequent decision allowed them to be sold in separate ownership and established a total ground cover for the 2 lots, which would have been the amount of ground cover that would have been allowed on the property as a single lot, split arbitrarily between the 2 on the basis of lot area on the original plan. Now, my clients own, at this time, the lot on the northeasterly side of Coffin Road, as you can see on the plan that is up on the board. Now, the ground cover, and 2 of you, by the way, sat on the most recent case on this, Lisa and Susan. The others of you are new to the matter. But the ground cover that was permitted for this lot was 1,816 square feet. we are asking, because my clients want to construct a garage to enable their vehicle to be housed in a garage and have some storage space other than outdoor storage, which is all that they have out there now, with a 384 square foot ground cover proposed garage. My client, as I mentioned, Mike Stone, is on the line and will be able to explain any questions that you may have about the design of the garage and the size of the garage. But in any event, that's what they propose to construct, meeting all setbacks on the lot. And we're therefore asking that the variance relief be modified by increasing the permissible ground cover from 1,816 square feet to 1,985 square feet. They have excess ground cover available at the present time, but not enough to build this garage. So we're basically asking for an additional, let's see, 149 square feet of ground cover to be allowed to them.
And Arthur, does that additional 100 and some odd feet take both lots over the 3% that the original decision
I'm
said?
sorry. I'm having, for some reason, a lot of trouble with the sound system here.
I know, I think there was an issue with it the last meeting too, or another meeting I was at. So I guess I'm asking, in the decision, the earlier decision, it said that portion A and portion B, the total ground cover allowed would be the 3% of them combined. And I was wondering, just because I didn't do the math, if the additional 100 takes them over the 3%?
We would be, the amount that's now allowed being 1,816.
Yep.
And when you add 384 square feet to what exists at the present time, we would be over by the 149.
And is portion B?
Yeah.
Oh, is portion B at their ground cover maximum? Because
I'm not sure what exists on the other lot at the present
Because
time.
But if you, I'm confused, Arthur, because if you take, and maybe do we just enforce, put on that 1,800 square feet of ground coverage? Because if you take it says the lot is 74,445, right? Is that what this is? And you do 3% of that.
And that's for portion A and portion B?
That's portion A only.
Oh, just portion A?
That's why I'm confused about this, because that's.
I don't remember this
They
application.
have 2,233 on that lot alone. I
So
don't understand
maybe
why-
we just restricted it.
Can I
Yeah,
Maybe-
please chime
thank you.
in.
jump in here?
Yep, thank you.
That was for the entirety of the lot. There's another little tricky thing in here that I thought about as well. When you have an undersized lot in lug 3, you're entitled to X amount of ground cover as a pre-existing non-conforming lot, but that's not what this is to some degree. I mean,
But Billy, there's a plan here that says, it's page 21, it says portion B is going to be 74,445. So if you do the math on that, times, is that a mistake? Because that is 2,233 just for that
well,
portion.
that's the thing. So that's the provision within the bylaw. When you're in the lug 1, 2, and 3 district, I believe it is, and you have a lot size over 40,000 square feet, you get to choose between 3% or 2,000 square feet of ground cover, whichever is greater.
Right, so they
So
chose.
in this one, they would have the 3%.
Which is
The 20
2,000, yeah, which is, so they don't need relief.
But why,
What is
where did we
3%?
limit
Just
it?
we say what that is.
Sorry.
Let me look at
If
the,
you're over, under that rule, if you're pre-existing non-conforming, if you're over, I think it's 50,000 square feet, you are allowed to have 2,000 square feet of ground cover other than the 1,500 that you otherwise have for all non-conforming lots, more than 5,000
And not
square feet.
3% of the lot area.
And there's an interesting argument to be made, and we discussed this in previous iterations of this case, as to whether this actually has pre-existing non-conforming status by virtue of the fact that the action which resulted in the lot being subdivided into Area A and Area B
I'm sorry,
was
Arthur,
done
can-
by town action, specifically the planning board approval of an application for a different owner of the subdivision, of the Wrights Landing subdivision, and thus creating the definitional change into two lots. It gets complicated, but I mean, this lot certainly has more characteristics of a pre-existing non-conforming lot, which would be entitled to the 2,000 square feet of ground cover than not. And what we're asking for is, I think, a pretty modest increase in ground cover, 149 square feet. I mean, you know, it's.
I'm still confused. Okay, so before these lots were separated, there were 120,000 square feet. 3% of that is 3,602. And we restricted them to that. I don't know what the proposed, what the existing ground cover is on Lot B or Lot A, which one am
It's
I?
I don't know, sorry, I don't know.
Portion A.
Northeast, yeah.
Maybe that's taking away what's left over.
I believe the existing structure on Lot B is what drove the ground cover calculation
But that is listed on the plan as 1510.
in the more recent decision, the 2017 or 18 decision.
Okay. But if I look on page 6, the existing ground coverage of the lot in question is 1581. There's a gazebo that's not included, and maybe it should be, and maybe that's the difference. It's shown hatched, but it says it's not included. So I'm assuming the gazebo's not there. And then they want to add 384, which would take them to 1960. And then if you take the lot area and multiply it by 3%, it's still, I get 2,200 square feet, so why would they need relief?
And that's exactly what 1816 plus 384 is, 2,200.
Because Arthur's not 100% that it's pre-existing.
But it wouldn't
Not
be,
conforming.
even if it's, oh, so.
It's not a lot because it's under,
Yeah, that
it's
provision
undersized,
is
right?
under pre-existing non-conforming lot
Right.
sizes.
Oh, being able to use the 3%.
Yeah.
Right, right.
I got it. And then
But-
if not, if you're not pre-existing, you get 1,800. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Arthur, just a question on, I see portion B, the area changed between the Blackwell survey dated, whatever, on page
6,
21.
no, 21.
So it was 74,000 and change, and then it went to 80,000.
I think it's, on the most recent plan on page 6 is 74,445.
So
But
Yeah.
look at page
That's page 20.
22.
22. 22.
So in the decision that was in 2000, the two conditions, right? So in 2000, they applied for determination relative to the status of these two lots, the issue being that the definition of lot assumes land not separated or divided by a street. And so we conditioned it, we meaning the board that signed that decision, it was in place at that time, said the variance relief further stipulated relief upon the following conditions. Each of portion A and portion B shall be limited to one dwelling which shall contain a single dwelling unit. That still stands. Condition B was that they be held in common ownership. That was struck in the later decision. And then C, the total, can you guys stop side talk, please, so we can,
Well, you didn't answer my question.
I was trying to answer, so
But
what the
Arthur
difference
didn't.
was.
Madam Chair,
Well,
you
I-
jumped in on mine.
I didn't even hear because nobody, it wasn't
I-
asked through me, so I didn't ask, I didn't know you were asking a question because there was all the side talk going
Oh,
on.
no, he had asked Arthur about the difference in the ground cover, and I was explaining why they show up as two different square footages.
Right, but then the Arthur's not answering it, you're answering it. Like, that's,
Well, no.
again, like side talk. So can we just, the decision in 2000, which was augmented later to strike condition B, which was that they would be held in common ownership. Condition C said, the total ground cover upon lot 963, which was the original lot on both sides of the road, including portion A and portion B, and the portion of 963 which lies within Coffin Road, shall not exceed the 3% maximum applicable in the limited use general 3 zoning district, computed on the basis of the total lot area of lot 963. So it's portion A, portion B, and whatever square footage is in the road. And that 3% is divided between portion A and portion B. So I'm still on with Lisa, where I
Can
don't
I-
know why they.
Can I ask one little question?
Of course.
When did the new pre-existing law take effect, or the change in zoning, where when you chopped up 2 lots, they got to be pre-existing, when 2 houses on 1 lot? Was that after 2000? Was it after this?
Well,
Because to me, this is would be a special permit, not a variance, wouldn't it?
each lot was, as provided in the 2017 decision, is limited to 1 house.
No, I understand that, Arthur. But I thought there was a change in the zoning,
For ground cover.
and you have 2 houses before 1950. They both get to be,
Yeah,
but
but that would be pre-1950.
no, I know, but
And pre-1955.
when did we start considering those pre-existing non-conforming? Wasn't that,
No,
not that,
are you talking
That-
about the
that-
5181L?
yeah.
Those are considered pre-existing non-conforming if, if they are divided. But in order to use that provision of the bylaw, they both have to be pre-1955 structures.
Oh, you can't
You
piggyback
can't do
onto
it
this? Okay,
on post-1955
Okay, okay,
structure.
okay.
That was back
Sorry,
before town
sorry.
meeting again this week.
all right.
So we don't know what's on the other portion of the lot, because in total, these should not exceed
Yeah, I mean,
3% of the total lot based on the last decision.
That's how
It's-
it appears.
That's how it,
it's now in separate ownership, but there was a, the decision shows in 2017 that there was a permit for a 1,464 square foot building on the other lot. And again, that was taken into consideration in establishing the ground cover available on this lot.
What's the address of portion B, or portion A, rather?
Coffin. It's-
The address of the other lot?
Yeah. 5 Coffin.
So would a portion of Coffin Road be included in the calculation, the square footage? That piece of it? In determining the 3%?
That's what our decision said, yeah.
It is
That's
part of it.
condition C.
but our decision also said that they should be held in common ownership, and they're not anymore.
But we struck that because that was part of they came back from 2000, they came back in, what was it, 2017, right, to request that condition B be struck, and we struck that decision, but A and C remained.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question about, and I don't want to disrupt everybody doing their math and calculations, but in one place it's called a gazebo, and in another place it's called a garage. So as proposed as a gazebo or a garage, does that make any difference to us?
I believe the
There's two
gazebo
different
is
structures.
completely, is an existing, completely separate structure,
There's a gazebo that exists.
Oh, okay, I'm
which
confused
isn't
here.
counted for ground cover.
There's a gazebo on the right side, and then they're asking.
Is there a
for
pool here? No.
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 Okay. What page do I need to go
Look at
to?
page 6.
What's the best? Because
Six.
there's so many.
Page
Okay.
6 is the proposed plan that shows the gazebo, and it says not including ground cover, and then it shows the garage.
Where's the garage?
On the
Yeah.
left of the house, it's just a rectangle that doesn't have hatch marks in it. At the end of the driveway.
Not on
Right
page
here?
6?
6,
6?
Oh, okay.
right here, Lisa.
Oh, sorry, I was reading
5.
6 as above,
Yeah,
not
that's how I
below.
was too.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
And then, will they still have the ability to have the zoning shed on this property?
I'm sorry?
I'm just asking fellow board members if this were to be approved, if they would then also be allowed the 200 square feet square foot zoning shed that is exempt from the allowable ground cover.
Yeah, the zoning shed is exempt under any circumstances.
But we have restricted people from doing
From-
that if
yeah.
we've gone over their ground cover.
Yes, and that's what I'm implying.
I mean, they could build a 200 square foot
Yeah.
shed now without asking.
I don't know, I mean, I think, let's approve it. I mean, come on. It's 100 and something square feet.
I
You
think
got
it's a
this
slippery
gigantic
slope.
lot.
I do
It
too.
it seems like it's a kind of a weird situation that
Well,
you went for variance, but you got a 77,000 square foot lot.
Well, do we
And you're gonna
normally
be around
grant something like
2,000. I
this?
mean, that's,
but how do you reach variance relief on this? Well, it's an odd situation. I grant you that, but it's not.
It was
the-
done before. but-
I know, I
so-
sat on it and created the odd situation.
Good job.
But that doesn't mean that I have to grant the additional ground cover for the odd situation.
So it's really, what's in question is 149 square feet. And, let me just do something. So if we were not to allow the 149 square feet, they could still build a 235 square foot
Yeah,
garage.
right.
Yes, and I have Mike Stone available on Zoom to be able to explain how he came up with the exact proposal in terms of what he wants to build by way of a garage.
Do we want to hear that?
Yeah, let's hear
Well, he has the
from,
right to speak.
yeah, let's
No, that's what I'm suggesting. I
let's
did
hear from him.
Express that properly.
Good afternoon. Yeah, what we're looking for is, we were looking to put up a single car garage. And we looked at the sizes of a single car garage, and we wanted to go a little larger because the vehicle that we'd actually be putting in as a single car garage, would be a larger vehicle because we have 10 people in our family with our grandkids and everyone who comes out to the island all the time. And so it needed to be a little bit larger van than normal. Plus, we have furniture and barbecue grills and stuff we'd like to store into that garage in the winter to get everything out, so it doesn't get ruined from the salt air all year round. So that's what we came up with, that size garage.
Okay, so I'm just looking at page 5 of the modification that Lisa and I signed. Yep.
So technically, you could build this without needing relief from us and then also build a zoning shed. And even have more than what you're asking for storage space.
That's true.
You could build the 200s and whatever square foot is what you're saying, and then have
Well,
without relief needed.
In any way.
Yeah.
I think the board has done this before. If we gave up the ability to build the garden shed and or at least provided that we would not be able to construct the garden shed or otherwise add any other ground cover without further relief from the board, how would that sit with everybody?
I would put that, however else feels.
I just don't see a compelling reason to grant a variance here. I mean, we've done a lot for them. We allowed them to have separate lots. And I mean, if we start basing it on, it's not that much, then what about everyone else in town?
I'm not
Never
basing it
three-
on that. I'm basing it on, having a agreed upon exchange that the overall delta will still be less if we grant them this square footage rather than them shrinking the size of the garage and then putting a zoning shed, which is automatic 200 square feet. If they want this as one structure and them willing to give up the 200 square foot shed, zoning shed that doesn't count towards square footage, that makes sense to me.
I'm just kind of channeling our esteemed former chair.
I know we're doing a
Ed
little
Toole.
horse trading here, but
Yeah, I think it's an interesting debate, because I think, and generally, you then end up with fewer structures.
yeah. Which I.
But I also agree with Jim that I just don't see how under what circumstances we can grant a variance for this. What is the hardship? That they were able to subdivide a lot that probably shouldn't have been
Oh, I
subdivided, and then they didn't have to keep it. No, the subdivision I didn't sit on, the getting rid of the fact that they had to be in separate ownership, I apparently sat on. That's not a hardship. So,
Okay, so looking at, just hold on. I looked at the Mass Land Records, and this wasn't in our packet, and maybe it was a mistake, but the decision, page 5 of the decision that Lisa and I sat on, let me just make sure I'm looking at the right one. Yes, there's our signatures in 2017.
who else sat on it? I'm just curious.
It was you, let's see, it was myself, Lisa, Karam, and Jeff, and Jim, but you didn't sign it. And Jeff was opposed, but we only needed 4 signatures. So Lisa, myself, Karam, and Jim voted for it. So if we look on page
sign it.
5 of that decision, number 14, it said, for the 2000 decision, the ground cover, what I read before, right, shall not exceed the 3% maximum, and that included portion A, portion B, and the portion of lot 963 lies within the Coffin Road. I'm just going to read this because I think it explains the logic of how we got to where we were, that I have no recollection of in 2020, or whenever that was. When was it, 2017?
I think you said 2017.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I already forgot that.
Yeah. Okay, great. Batting 1,000 over here. Okay. So this is how we got to the 1,816. So the board required in the 2000 decision the modification further required to conditions. Okay, so condition C was the total ground cover upon lot 963, including portion A, portion B, and the portion of lot 963, which lies within Coffin Road, shall not exceed the 3% maximum applicable in the limited use general 3 zoning district, computed upon the basis of the total lot area of lot 963. So 963, A, B, and Coffin Road. So then the decision further goes on to say, the result of this would have allowed a maximum of 3,602 square feet, equal to 3% of 120,075 square feet, or being the total lot area of lot 963, which is A, B, and the road. In 2001, the owners filed building permit number 1139-01 to construct a 1,600 square feet dwelling unit on the larger portion B between Marcus Way and Coffin Road, southwest of Wright's Landing. A certificate of occupancy was issued in 2004. In 2002, the owners filed building permit 35202 to construct a 1,464 square foot dwelling unit on the smaller portion A, abutting Coffin Road and situated south of Wright's Landing. Construction began but did not continue beyond the point of pouring and capping a slab foundation, which is shown to have an existing footprint of 1,450 square feet on the 2017 site plan. The board recommended that the ground cover restrictions in condition C be modified as follows. Here, Lisa.
I see that. Yep, like this up here. Okay. They've got the lots backwards.
Okay, so,
Yeah, I
so,
see, that's why it doesn't, that's what makes sense now, because the smaller lot ended up building a bigger building, which used up some of the ground coverage of the total lots
right, so
together.
they took out the road. So the portion of lot 963 within the layout of Coffin Road would not contribute towards lot area or ground cover calculations. These calculations are based on lot area established for smaller portion A and larger portion B as shown on exhibit plan attached to the 2000 variance decision. So I don't know what it says behind me, but does it say the 3% of 74,445 equals 2,233 square feet? And then they subtracted 417 square feet, which was, I guess, so that gets us to 1816. That's where that came from. And lot B, 3% of 34,444 was 1,033 square feet. They had an overage because they had 1,450 square feet existing. So if you did 1,450 square feet minus 1,033 square feet, that's the 417 that came off of the 2233 that got us to the 1816, so the total allowed.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, not at all.
It totally does. Come here and look at
I
this.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah, come here and
I
look
did
at-
not.
Come, well, come
I
here.
would know, can you just explain?
Yeah,
So
sure. Here,
what
but
are
let me
we-
show
where
you.
are we?
This makes sense.
I believe you.
No, I'm
Just-
not saying, you don't have to believe me. This will just, it just shows the house that's on, B
Yeah,
is 1,450 square feet. So it's more than its allotment of the 3%. That's its allotment. So
Yeah.
the 417 square feet that they took on this lot
Yeah.
came off of what was allowed here,
okay.
right? So
Yeah.
that's where we came up. That's why we're like, where did 1816 come from? That's where it came from. So now, if we give on this, we're effectively giving overage, we're allowing an overage here and an overage here.
Yeah,
So are we?
Can I also say
You
that
want the advantage.
2233 was based on a 3% calculation.
Right,
So then so basically the 1816 would still be a result of a calculation made with the 3%.
That's
Okay.
allowed.
yep,
You could
Okay,
add whatever that difference
Gotcha.
is
yeah, so it's
by
just,
right,
got it. Okay.
but it's the overage of that, the 100 and whatever.
because it's the
149.
combined 3%. So essentially, this property came in for a variance to build to become two lots and build two dwellings, and we said they had to be in common ownership. Then they said, okay, well, now we no longer want to be in common ownership, we want to sell, and we said, okay, you can do that. Then they were only supposed to have the 3%, but one guy went over. So they've had a couple bites at the apple, so I don't know.
Yeah, Madam Chair, that's how I view it, this multiple bites at the apple, and, you know, you now have the advantage of two lots, it should be treated that way, and
But get ready now, they're gonna be two little dinky buildings, and, okay, fine, but I guess if it were up to me, I'd prefer just one building and know that that's the end of it.
What do you mean?
Yeah, but the ground coverage should then like, well, we already had a garage and we want to build a cottage, so we're going to use the 346 and make it a little cottage. You know, it's change of use, well, although they are restricted
To garage.
to just one
One
dwelling on
dwelling.
each site.
I just
And this
don't, why
but I-
doesn't the zoning provision that allows a zoning shed have that provision? You could take it this way, or you could take it this way.
But if they're willing to
don't see
give
a
up the
hardship.
zoning shed, I'm willing to give up the
Was that
150 square feet, I guess. You could put it that way.
How about they take down the gazebo and they put up a zoning shed in place?
We could obviously put provision in there that there not be any dwelling unit or even studio in the garage building.
Well, they're already limited by variance to a
To a
single dwelling.
But you could say no studio, certainly.
Yeah,
I don't know, I still find that it's hard to reach the standard of a variance on this. I mean, I don't disagree with Elisa in terms of simplifying the number of structures on a site, but I think there's always a workaround to a variance, I suppose, and I don't think that it sets a good precedent. I mean, frankly, probably allowing these lots to be subdivided was not a great precedent.
And then
to begin
allowing them
with.
to go into separate ownership was another
Exactly.
not great
Exactly.
idea, but
So
now,
I just
so,
don't feel like I want to proceed
Further.
with creating another,
Yeah.
probably not good decision that's going to come back to bite us someplace other than at the apple.
Yeah. I agree, given the history and the way we've,
Thank you for looking that up.
yeah, I
was
like, really just couldn't figure out, I'm like, why,
Why can you
how
not
did we,
remember?
where did we get that? So I love that whoever drafted this decision put all this math in there, because that was it Eleanor probably? Yeah.
That was Eleanor, and she
Yeah.
texted me just a minute ago to say she wrote that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor.
Thank you,
She
Eleanor.
must be
Although-
watching.
Although Arthur's probably being like, Eleanor.
Aren't the lots switched on the decision?
They are.
Maybe.
There you go, Eleanor.
Whatever.
May-
All
may
right,
I say
so-
something?
Of course you can. And we're not making light of your situation. I understand you weren't the original party and you've inherited this, so, we understand that this may be frustrating for you, but,
We would absolutely be willing to give up the zoning shed to be able to put the one building there. And we're not looking to build anything else in the future at all. This is just because we have a car that seems to be rotting away out there every time we put it out there. And when we're not there, we like to have it in undercover and someplace also to store things that from outside, since we have no other access to the basement in our home except through the inside of the house. So that's what we're looking for to do.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any letters in the?
I don't think there
See any
were,
letters.
I don't think, we didn't have any mail on this, did we? Is there
No, I di-
anyone?
I didn't have any inquiries of any kind on this application.
And no one on Zoom at this time.
may I make a motion to approve, or no?
Close the public hearing.
Oh, we have to,
Yeah.
close. Oh, sorry, I'll wait.
So moved. Or I'll make the motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Okay, so that motion has been made and seconded.
May I make a motion?
Well,
No, we gotta
we have
vote
vote
now.
on that first.
Yeah, we had
Oh,
a vote
right,
on that.
sorry.
So,
go.
let's see. John is recused on this one, so Jim, you're voting. Okay, sorry. So, who made the motion to close the public hearing?
Jim.
Okay. And you seconded?
Yes.
Okay, so Jim made the motion, Elisa seconded it. And I'll just do roll call vote. Jim,
Aye.
Elisa,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Okay, so public hearing is closed and we'll move to deliberation. So Mr. Stone was the applicant on the 2017 plan.
Oh, that we voted on.
That we voted
Okay,
on
so
to
To set the ground coverage as where it stands today.
yeah.
Okay. Not that it matters, but.
Yeah. I, on a human level, I understand his plight. A garage would be great. I totally get it. On a zoning board and just a history of this variance, I don't see how we get there, personally, given the history with this property.
I concur.
Should I just make a motion for everybody to vote so that we get to the conclusion, or?
I think so.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve with the condition that they no longer have the ability to further expand the ground cover or build a, quote, zoning shed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so I'll call your name and you can vote yay or nay. So Elisa,
Yay.
Jim,
Aye.
Lisa,
Nay.
Joe,
Nay.
and myself, nay. So that fails.
What happened? Okay, fine.
I changed my mind too.
Not that I
know,
had,
I
not
was
that I'm
surprised.
invested,
Yeah.
but I'm just, yeah.
Okay, so that motion fails, so that request is denied. Arthur, thank you for your time, and Mr. Stone, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your consideration.
Okay. Okay, so I think that wraps it up for us today. Here, Lisa's making the motion to
Second.
adjourn,
Second.
and Jim seconds it. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got everybody at the table, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, that is a resounding yes. So we are adjourned, and we will reconvene next month on June 12th, I believe it is. I think it would have, what do you need, 4 for a variance anyway? I think so.